Television Network, welcome to Global News. First, the highlights. Suspected gunmen shoot Catholic priest in Imo State. Tinubu commends funding for a Lagos-Calabar coastal highway. Akpabio Abbas direct re-gazetting of new tax laws. Federal government trains 75 boat drivers in waterway safety. Israel recognizes Somaliland as sovereign state. CAF fines Egypt $5,000 for media blackout. Semaya falls on stage during performance. Suspected gunmen have shot an assistant parish priest of St. Kelvin Catholic Church, Obako, in the Owerri West local government area of Imo State on Christmas Day. The priest, whose identity had yet to be officially confirmed as of press time, was reportedly shot at about 8 a.m. on Christmas Day while approaching the church gate for morning mass, and the gunmen appeared to have fired from a concealed and distant location, making it difficult for anyone around to identify the shooter. The priest was rushed to an undisclosed hospital where he is currently receiving medical care, while prayers are ongoing for his recovery. Confirming the incident, the police public relations officer of the Imo State Command, DSP Henry Okoye, said the matter had not yet been formally reported to the police. Meanwhile, the Catholic Archbishop of Owerri Archdiocese, Most Reverend Lucius Ogoji, also confirmed the shooting, but said the identity of those responsible remain unknown. All Progressives Congress, APC, has accused the Oyo State Governor Adeleke Ademola-led government of intimidation over billboard restrictions published on December 26, 2025 by Francis Ezedionu ahead of the 2026 governorship election. A statement by the chairman, Tajuddin Lawal, alleged that the administration of Governor Ademola Adeleke had created a level playing field for political activities by directing the state's signage regulatory agency to halt approval for campaign billboards in parts of the capital, Osogbo. Lawal said the directive was targeted at the party and its governorship candidate, Bola Oyebamiji, while claiming that the decision amounted to a misuse of incumbency power, adding that it was intended to restrict the campaign visibility of the APC candidate. The APC alleged that the state government had ordered the signage agency to identify owners of existing billboards across Osogbo and compensates them for up to 3 years per billboard, a move the party described as unusual and politically motivated, stressing that the party would resist the directive through lawful means. The APC leadership called on the Adeleke administration to reconsider the alleged policy, urging the government to allow all political parties to operate on equal terms ahead of the election, adding that its governorship candidate would continue preparations for the poll and no administrative action would prevent participation in lawful campaign activities across the state. Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun has pledged to ensure a seamless, peaceful and rancor-free transition at the end of his second term in 2027 and promised to set a historic benchmark in the state's governorship succession. Abiodun gave the assurance during the Christmas church service at St. James Anglican Church, Iperu Remo in Ikenne local government area. Said his administration was determined to be the first in the state's history to hand over power without acrimony or political hostility, stressing that historically been fraught with tension, disputes and bitter rivalries that have at various times threatened the peace of the state. Ahead of the 2011 general election, then Governor Gbenga Daniel insisted that Ogun West Senatorial District should produce his successor and backed Boyega Isiaka, a chartered accountant and first-class graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University, while former President Olusegun Obasanjo and other leaders of the then ruling People's Democratic Party rejected Isiaka's candidacy and supported the late former military governor of Oyo State, General Adetunji Oluri, also from Ogun West. Isiaka eventually contested on the platform of the People's Party of Nigeria, while Oluri remained in the PDP, but both lost the election to Senator Ibikunle Amosun of the Action Congress of Nigeria. And in the build-up to the 2019 governorship election, outgoing Governor Amosun of the All Progressives Congress vowed that his successor must be Adekunle Akinlade, then representing Yewa South Ipo, described as solid governance, economic expansion and people-centered development achieved under his administration, and also reaffirmed his commitment to using his office to serve the people through impactful projects, citing the Gateway International Airport and other infrastructure projects across the 3 senatorial districts as key legacies. Panic gripped residents of Ofa community in Kwara State on Thursday night after explosions rocked parts of the town, destroying properties and raising security concerns, barely hours after the United States declared airstrikes against ISIS targets in northwest Nigeria. The incident, which occurred around midnight on Christmas Day, happened at 2 separate locations within Ofa, and the first explosion affected several buildings around the Eid praying ground area, while the second occurred near Solid Worth Hotel, located about a 5-minute walk from the initial site. Later, undetonated explosive device was discovered at the second location, prompting heightened security measures and confirming the incident. The Chief Press Secretary to the Executive Chairman of Ofa Local Government, Abiola Aziz Babatunde, said the council is aware of reports circulating online about the explosion. The council chairman urged residents to remain calm and vigilant while security agencies carry out investigations, and when contacted, the Police Public Relations Officer, Kwara State Command, SP Adetoun Ejire Adeyemi, who confirmed the incident, said investigation is ongoing to ascertain what happened. The distance from Ofa, Kwara State to Sokoto is roughly 540 to 550 kilometers. Benue State Police Command successfully fought the kidnap attempt on Christmas Day and rescued one Geoffrey Akome. The command spokesperson, DSP Udeme Edet, who disclosed in a statement in Makurdi, said the incident occurred in the early hours of the day at TO2 along Boko Makurdi Road. The police spokesperson also said the victim, who was on transit from Boko to Makurdi and was accosted by armed men suspected to be kidnappers at TO2. She also said they forcefully abducted the victim and were in the process of taking him deeper into a nearby thick forest. Sokoto State Command of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has arrested 146 suspects and seized 982.8 kilograms of illicit drugs within the last 4 months in a renewed crackdown on drug trafficking and abuse. The state commander of the agency, Alhaji Mustafa Mohammed Gaidado, who disclosed this while briefing journalists in Sokoto on the command's achievements since he assumed office, said the arrest cuts across different age groups, including a 73-year-old suspect, underscoring the growing spread of drug-related activities across demographics in the state. Beyond enforcement, the NDLEA boss said the command has also sustained its rehabilitation mandate, revealing that 18 drug-dependent persons were successfully rehabilitated and reintegrated with their families within the period under review. He attributed the success recorded to the support of the Sokoto state government, effective collaboration with sister security agencies, and timely intelligence from members of the public, and further reaffirmed the agency's commitment to combating drug abuse and trafficking in the state, stressing that sustained public cooperation remains critical to winning the fight. 6 controversially suspended members of the Zamfara State House of Assembly have declared their defection from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress, while alleging constitutional breaches, internal crisis within the legislature, and disenchantment with the PDP-led state government as basic reasons for the defection. The lawmakers declared their defection in Gusau, the state capital, after a meeting in which they accused the leadership of the assembly of undermining legislative independence and acting as an extension of Governor Dauda Lawal's office. They alleged that the legislature had been reduced to a rubber stamp with decisions taken without due process and in violation of constitutional provisions, and submitted separate letters of defection to the factional speaker, Bashar Gomi, who said they had been illegally suspended for nearly 2 years, a situation they claimed had deprived their constituents of representation. According to them, the suspensions compelled them to form a parallel House of Assembly through which they have been challenging what they described as illegal actions by both the recognized faction of the legislature and the executive arm of the government, and also alleged that the current faction of the assembly had been passing bills and taking key decisions without forming the constitutionally required quorum, insisting that such actions were null and void. The lawmakers called on the National Assembly to intervene by investigating the situation and ensuring that constitutional order and the rule of law are restored in the Zamfara State Legislature. Jigawa State Governor Umar Namadi says his administration will fully support local government councils that uphold transparency, ensure accountability, and implement programs that directly benefit the people. A statement signed by Hajia Zainab Shuaibu, Senior Special Assistant on Media Affairs, held at the launch of the Taura Local Government Council Chairman's Mega Empowerment Program, said the chairman, Honorable Shuaibu Hambali Zagar, has demonstrated purposeful leadership through the introduction of an empowerment program aimed at improving the socio-economic well-being of the people of Taura, adding that the initiative aligns with the development vision of both the state and federal government. Governor Namadi further said that Jigawa State Government will soon empower another 1,000 beneficiaries in each of the 27 local government areas through the State Youth Empowerment and Employment Agency, and also reaffirmed his administration's readiness to partner with and support all local government councils that prioritize transparency, accountability, and people-oriented programs. Team of Nigerian Immigration Service personnel in Jigawa State has intercepted 6 suspected trafficking victims at the Babura Plantation border patrol base, foiling an attempt to smuggle them to Europe via Libya and Niger Republic. Jigawa NAPTIP Command warned residents to be cautious of criminals exploiting innocent and unsuspecting individuals who during the festive period disguise their travel gesture as opportunities abroad, but which often leads to human trafficking. According to NAPTIP, Jigawa State Command, Mr. Abdul Kader Turajo, while receiving the intercepted individuals from NIS in Duse, the state capital, said the suspects, comprising 4 females and 2 males, hail from Ogun, Ondo, Imo, Lagos, and Enugu states. However, the NAPTIP commander warned the public to be vigilant as traffickers exploit festive season travels to lure victims, and also applauded the efforts of the NIS Jigawa State Command under the leadership of its state commandant, CISTA Musa, in combating trafficking. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break. Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has commended the successful closure of a $1.26 billion financing deal for Phase 1, Section 2 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, describing the achievement as a major boost to Nigeria's infrastructure drive. A statement issued by his Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the President commended the Federal Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Works, and the Debt Management Office for their collaboration in securing the funding, and adding that the milestone would ensure uninterrupted progress on the project. According to the statement, Tinubu said the financing milestone demonstrated his administration's commitment to exploring innovative funding options for critical national projects, adding that the highway remains central to the government's economic and infrastructure agenda, and the structure reflects growing investor confidence in Nigeria's reformed investment climate. President Bola Tinubu has mourned the death of 2 members of the Kano State House of Assembly, describing the loss as sad, tragic, and painful. The lawmakers, Aminu Ngogo, who represented Ngogo constituency, and Aliyu Daneji, who represented Kano municipal constituency, died in separate incidents within 1 hour on Wednesday. A statement on Friday by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, Tinubu said that deaths had created a void depriving the people of their constituencies of committed representation, and prayed for the repose of the souls of the late lawmakers and asked God to grant comfort to their families. The deaths of the two legislators have thrown Kano politics into mourning, with tributes pouring in for the late lawmakers who were described as active representatives of their constituencies. Leadership of the National Assembly, led by Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, have directed the clerk to the National Assembly to re-gazette Nigeria's newly enacted tax laws following growing controversy. A statement by the spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Honorable Akin Rotimi, said the National Assembly had commenced a review of the tax laws to address concerns raised in the public space, and the decision to re-gazette the laws was taken to provide clarity and ensure accuracy in the legislative record, stressing that the matter is being handled strictly within the constitutional and statutory powers of the National Assembly. Rotimi also said the leadership ordered the re-gazetting of the Act and the issuance of certified through copies of the versions duly passed by both chambers, stressing that the step is purely administrative and aimed at properly authenticating and reflecting the legislative decisions taken by the National Assembly. The tax laws are expected to be implemented from January 2026. Minister of Foreign Affairs Ambassador Yusuf Maitama-Toga has reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to protecting religious freedom and promoting peaceful coexistence among Nigerians. In a Christmas message by Toga, extended greetings to Christians in Nigeria and in the diaspora, assuring that the government would continue efforts aimed at strengthening social cohesion and national unity, adding that Christmas offers an opportunity for reflection, dialogue, and renewed commitment to mutual respect among Nigeria's diverse religious communities. According to a statement signed by his media aide, Al-Qasim Abdul Karer, the minister said government institutions would continue to be strengthened to protect all religious adherents and promote harmony across the country, including the safety and rights of Nigerians of all faiths, both within the country and in the diaspora, remain a priority in government policy and diplomatic engagements. He urged citizens to use the Christmas season to promote unity, patience, and tolerance, adding that Nigeria's strength lies in its diversity and shared sense of purpose. Armed Forces of Nigeria says recent airstrikes in the northwest demonstrates the federal government's unwavering resolve to confront terrorism carried out in collaboration with the United States. The Director of Defense Information, Major General Samaila Uba, who disclosed this in a statement in Abuja, said the operation followed credible intelligence and was aimed at degrading the operational capabilities of the terrorists while minimizing collateral damage. According to him, the strikes were conducted with the approval of appropriate authorities as part of sustained efforts to rid the country of terrorists and other criminal elements threatening national security, adding that the operation underscored the resolve of the federal government, working with strategic international partners to confront transnational terrorism and prevent foreign fighters from establishing or expanding footholds within Nigeria. A statement signed by the ministry spokesperson, Kimiebi Imomotimi Ebienfa, the ministry said the collaboration involves intelligence sharing, strategic coordination, and other forms of support in line with international law, mutual respect for sovereignty, and shared security commitments. The statement further said Nigeria's counter-terrorism efforts are guided by the need to protect civilian lives, safeguard national unity, and uphold the rights of all citizens, irrespective of faith or ethnicity. Terrorist violence against any religious or ethnic group remains an affront to Nigeria's values and international peace. Federal government has confirmed ongoing security and intelligence cooperation between Nigeria and the United States following airstrikes that hit terrorist targets in Nigeria's northwest. A statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, signed by spokesperson Kimiebi Bienfa, said Nigerian authorities remain engaged in structured security cooperation with international partners, including the United States of America, to address terrorism and violent extremism in the country. The ministry said the collaboration, which led to precision airstrikes of terrorist targets, involves intelligence sharing, strategic coordination, and other forms of support in line with international law, respect for Nigeria's sovereignty, and shared security commitments, adding that terrorist violence, whether directed at Christians, Muslims, or other communities, remains an affront to Nigeria's values and to international peace and security. The statement followed comments by United States President Donald Trump, who said on Thursday that U.S. forces had carried out deadly strikes against Islamic State terrorists in northwestern Nigeria, while Trump warned that further attacks would follow if the killing of Christians unabated. In a separate social media post, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Washington acted with Nigeria's cooperation, while the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said Nigeria would continue to work with its partners through established diplomatic and security channels to weaken terrorist networks, disrupt their financing and logistics, and prevent cross-border threats. The airstrike came a day after a bomb attack on a mosque in Maiduguri, Borno State, killing 5 people and injured dozens in what authorities suspect was a suicide bombing. Fresh legal controversy has erupted between the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and a former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, over the service and enforcement of a court order granting bail, adding that the dispute followed a ruling by a federal high court, Abuja, which granted bail to Malami in a matter involving the anti-graft agency, while the EFCC, through its legal team, has denied being duly served with the court order. Malami's office insisted that the order was properly served in line with legal procedures. A statement issued by Malami's media office, Mohammed Doka, the EFCC and its lawyers were served with the court order shortly after it was issued, and a court bailiff made attempts to effect service at the EFCC office, but officials allegedly declined to acknowledge or receive the documents. However, the EFCC's counsel, Barrister Okotepa San, countered the claim that the commission was never properly served and there could not be accused of disobeying a court's directive it had no formal notice of. And as a result of the unfolding drama, few legal analysts said bail is a constitutional right, not a privilege, and that once granted by a competent court, it must be respected unless set aside by a higher court. And now to our business news. Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise has called on the federal government to urgently support domestic refining and align petroleum policies to favor locally refined petroleum products through targeted fiscal, regulatory, and infrastructural measures. Director of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, Dr. Muda Yusuf, said the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority must place domestic refining at the center of its policy framework, in line with the President's Nigeria First policy direction and industrialization agenda, adding that the new leadership of the petroleum regulatory agencies must urgently refocus sector priorities on reducing import dependence, expanding domestic capacity, and catalyzing investments across the oil and gas value chain. The CPPE commended President Bola Tinubu for what it described as a reset of Nigeria's petroleum regulatory architecture, stating that the appointment offered a strategic opportunity to reposition the oil and gas regulatory environment in line with the administration's energy sovereignty and production growth agenda. Yusuf criticized what he described as policy distortions that place imported petroleum products in direct competition with locally refined products under unequal regulatory and fiscal conditions, and further said that domestic refining was key to backward integration and resource-based industrialization, stressing that supporting refineries will strengthen petrochemical, fertilizer, and allied industries. Yusuf said it was particularly important as the global energy transition accelerates, warning that Nigeria must maximize the value of its hydrocarbon resources while the opportunities still exist, adding that expanded investment in gas production must also be a central focus, while compliance with domestic crude supply obligations to local refineries should remain a priority. Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, in collaboration with the National Inland Waterways Authority, has concluded a 3-day boat navigation and safety training for 75 boat drivers and skippers as part of efforts to improve safety and professionalism on Nigeria's inland waterways. A statement said the training focused on equipping participants with the practical knowledge and operational competence required for the issuance of the certificate in safe boating and navigation, where participants were drawn from major boating associations, including the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria, the Association of Tourist Boat Operators and Water Transporters of Nigeria, and the Waterfront Boat Owners and Transporters Association of Nigeria. Boat operators from Lagos, Ogun, and Ondo states also took part in the program. Speaking at the closing ceremony, a representative of the Marine Department at the Niwa Lagos Area Office, Timothy Clement, described the training as a significant intervention aimed at reducing accidents on inland waterways and also highlighted ongoing safety measures being implemented by NIWA, including the removal of wrecks to improve navigation and continuous sensitization of boat operators along major routes such as CMS, Ikorodu, Bador, Badagry, and Port Novo. He said NIWA has intensified awareness campaigns, moving from jetty to jetty to educate operators on safe practices while encouraging boat owners to release more skippers and captains for structured training programs. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, have reshuffled critical directors in the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority following rumors of serious corrupt practices by key officers of the Aviation Regulatory Agency. The reshuffle of the senior officers may not be unconnected with allegations of inefficiency and compromised oversight in the agency's Directorate of Airworthiness Standards. This comes as the Nigeria Safety Investigation Board on December 14, 2025 and December 16, 2025 respectively issued reports indicating major aircraft incidents involving unscheduled aircraft. Speaking with the newspaper, the minister expressed worry that since the documents had been in the public space, concerned authorities had not reacted to the allegations, adding that his ministry was conducting a comprehensive investigation into the matter, insisting that as Minister of Aviation, he could not allow anything that would threaten air safety under his watch. However, the directorate has been in the eye of the storm, with different fingers pointing at the section over alleged irregularities. The allegations gained urgency following a series of aircraft incidents investigated by the Nigeria Safety Investigation Board. And now to our international news. Israel has formally recognized Somaliland as an independent and sovereign state and signed an agreement to establish diplomatic ties between the two countries. The office of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the president of Somaliland, Abdi Rahman Mohamed Abdullahi, hailed the recognition move, saying it marks the beginning of a strategic partnership. Somaliland, which declared independence in 1991, has for decades pushed for international recognition, the key priority for Abdullahi since he took office last year. And in a separate statement, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar declared that two countries had agreed to establish full diplomatic ties, which will include the appointment of ambassadors and the opening of embassies. Heavy rainstorms across large parts of California triggered floods and mudslides and left 3 dead as of Christmas night. The storms were part of rainfall to some parts of Los Angeles County that prompted evacuations and shut down major roads, and about 100,000 people in the state were without power as of Thursday evening. Evacuation warnings were in effect for some residents of San Bernardino County in Southern California, and flash flood warnings were issued for those in the San Francisco Bay Area on Thursday morning. U.S. Congressman Riley Moore has hailed recent airstrikes in northwest Nigeria as a decisive move to protect Christian communities and tackle the ongoing security crisis in the country. Speaking on Friday via his X handle, Moore said the strikes conducted in coordination with the Nigerian government marked just the first step to ending the slaughter of Christians and the security crisis affecting all Nigerians. The comments come after reports that U.S. forces under President Donald Trump's direction carried out airstrikes against ISIS-linked terrorist elements in northwest Nigeria. In a separate post, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Washington acted with Nigeria's cooperation. The Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed that the strikes were part of structured security cooperation with international partners to combat terrorism and violent extremism after Moore recently concluded a fact-finding mission in Nigeria to investigate alleged attacks on Christian communities. Describing the experience as deeply disturbing, he confirmed that President Trump tasked him and House Appropriations Chairman Tom Cole to submit a report with recommendations by the end of the month following Nigeria's designation as a country of particular concern over alleged Christian killings. Former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak was being found guilty of abusing his power to plunder millions from the 1MBDB Sovereign Wealth Fund and launder the proceeds. His sentencing, expected later on Friday, is likely to heap years onto the 6-year term he is already serving for a separate case related to the now-defunct state investment vehicle. Presiding Judge Colin Lawrence Sequeira convicted the 72-year-old former leader on all 4 counts of abuse of power, as well as 21 counts of money laundering involving around 2.28 billion ringgit from the fund, and Najib, the son of one of the country's founding fathers, was groomed for leadership from a young age, who also experienced a spectacular fall from power as public anger mounted over the corruption scandal. Since his 2018 election loss, investigations on the successive governments have ensnared him and his wife, Rosma Mansour, in graft allegations, and proceeds from the fund were used to bankroll high-end real estate, a luxury yacht, and precious artworks. Najib's lawyers have previously said the politician is unaware that 1MDB's management is working hand in glove with Low to siphon large amounts of money from the fund, ostensibly established to foster economic growth in Malaysia. South Korean prosecutors are seeking a 10-year prison sentence for ex-President Yoon Suk-yeol for offenses linked to his attempt to impose martial law last year. Yoon briefly suspended civilian Seoul in South Korea for the first time in more than 4 decades on December 3, 2024, prompting massive protest and a showdown in parliament, and have since been removed from the office in April by the Constitutional Court after facing multiple trials for actions linked to his martial law declaration. Yoon said his decision to declare martial law had been justified in the fight against pro-China, pro-North Korea and traitorous activities. And his 3 other trials include allegations of leading an insurrection, for which he could face the death penalty if found guilty. And here now is our sports news. Confederation of African Football, CAF, has fined Egypt $5,000 after the players and technical staff failed to engage the media following their clash with Zimbabwe. Hossam Hassan's side won the thrilling contest 2-1, while the players and their officials shunned the media in the mixed zone after the game. The action, according to CAF, was a clear violation of their media obligations, and CAF warned Egypt that will face heavier sanctions if they repeat same action in subsequent games at AFCON 2025. The seven-time champions will face the Bafana Bafana of South Africa in their second group game on Friday. Mali's Boubou Traoré will be at the center when the Super Eagles take on Tunisia in a Group C fixture at the 2025 African Cup of Nations on Saturday. The highly anticipated encounter is slated for the complex sportive Fes, and CAF also confirmed the appointment of Senegal's Issa Sias video assistant referee VAR for the game. Nigeria and Tunisia will be targeting a win in the encounter to secure their passage into the round of 16. The game will kick off at 9 p.m. Nigerian time. And now to our entertainment news. Nigerian singer Timaya fell on stage while trying to lift a plus-sized lady during performance.